as a guest on the podcast. How are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to this. But so before we dive in, I always ask my guests, because my audience is international, my guests are international. I always ask, where are you located in the world? And tell us a little bit something about you besides what you do for work.
Oh my goodness. Besides what I do for work. Okay. So I'm located in Florida, United States. That's where I live. Besides what I do for work, I love Vermont. That's where I grew up. And I am hoping to eventually be living half and half in Vermont and half in Florida. That way I can have all the seasons and I don't have to have all the winter in Vermont.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the weather in Vermont is probably pretty different than the weather in Florida.
It is, but like the hiking and the rocks and I just miss the hiking so much. The mountains. I really love the mountains. I know everyone's always like, you have such the beaches. And I'm like, I've lived here for 20 years. I hardly ever go to the beach, but you take me to a mountain, I'll go hiking, the beaches don't do it for me.
Yeah. Well, okay. So far, still in Florida. It's kind of like, I'm jealous of your weather, but other than that, I like Vancouver. So our topic today is human design. And I want to start with the basic. And for those listeners that I have who never even heard maybe the word or have no clue what it is, can you just in a few words say, what is human design? And then for me, what is the difference between human design and quantum human design or whatever?
Yes. Okay, that's awesome. Yes. So human design really takes in a lot of the traditional wisdom, which is one of the reasons I truly loved it. I am a seasoned yoga practitioner and teacher. So I did a lot of studying and the chakras and Eastern philosophies. So when I stumbled, usually personality things, I am not all into. I'm like, oh, they're kind of fun, whatever, personality tests. But this one seemed really different to me. And when I really found it, it was interesting how I came upon it. I saw it in a post from another colleague of mine, and I asked her what it was. And she told me, and at that time, it wasn't right timing. That time I was like, nah, okay, I'm not ready to dive into things right now. I was doing all my transformational coaching things. Then a year later goes by and she's still posting. And I'm like, what is this thing, human design? And then I bought a book and I read it within a week. And I was like, okay, this is something that I have to go into. And the reason it was because of the chakras. I felt like, oh, I resonate with that. I resonate with energies, where you take in energy, where you have consistent energy. So it takes in astrology, the chakras, the tree of life, quantum mechanics. And I always forget, the Chinese I Ching. So it's the combination of multicultural as well as traditional texts and wisdom, as well as modern, which I really love because I've learned through yoga that the tradition is wonderful to bring, but a lot of the times, if it's not new age, the people, like younger people, don't really connect with it as much. So I loved the combination of this because it's traditional and modern. And what it does is when you enter in your birth date, birth time, and birth place, just like the astrology, you get this chart, this tangible. So you see, okay, so this is my chart. It doesn't change. What does this mean? And it really goes into so many things. There's people that you can just do the type and strategy and they feel fulfilled. And then there's the people that want to go into all the layering. And they really want to learn about like their themes and life purpose and what their lessons are. So you can learn whatever aspect you want and start to shift your life. Now, the difference between quantum and regular human design. So regular human design was downloaded by Ra in 1987 in Spain during a supernova. So during this supernova, he downloaded 5 days of this information. And in this information, he was told that this was for us to bring to the children to teach them about the energetics so that we start to align energetically, because the planet is not in alignment. We're like killing the planet. So this was for the children. Now, Karen Curry Parker, my teacher, created quantum human design. So she studied with Ra. And in Ra's teaching, he was here to shock people. He was here to shock people into awareness. And the reason that is because in the sun, in his chart, is the gate of shock. That's what he's here to share. And that's how he shared it. Now, Karen studied with him for, I think, 20 years or maybe 10 years. I can't remember, 10 to 20 years. And she is here to change the wording into more expansive wording. So it's more of a quantum expansiveness. So the wording she changed from the traditional gate activations to the more quantum language, because the quantum language is more expansive. That way we kind of ground into the foundation of what is human design and then expand from it. So the reason I actually love both is because when I studied traditional, it feels really grounding to me. Like it feels really grounding. And then when I studied the quantum, because I'm level 4 certified in the quantum, it was also then, okay, it's grounding. Now what? Now what can we do? Now that we know this, how can we use this in a way to create more impact and more sustainability and more acceptance in the world? So that's why I really love the combination of the two.
Okay, so it human design, just to maybe summarize whether I understood it right, is similar like a like all these personality tests, but it's actually like astrology, which I always compare a little bit with these personality tests too. But the difference is it's actually really who you are at the core and not how you act. So in astrology, I always say like there is nature and there is nurture. So how you grew up can actually stifle or undermine how you would really be. And then when you do personality tests, then it doesn't come out the way you would actually really be. It comes out different. And with astrology, if it's not aligned, which was something for me when I got my very first astrology reading, she said to me, "You have so much fire in your chart, but I don't see fire when you sit in front of me, And so this is where I where nurture. And with nurture, I mean how we grew up and the environment that influences us. And then there might be wrong results. So I love that about human design. And I heard that it's part of chakras or that chakras and I Ching and all that is part of it. So it sounds in a way very similar to what I do with astrology, just with more components than just astrology.
Yeah. And I really love what you said about the nurture nature, because in human design, we say that as, okay, so you look at your chart, you see where you have consistent energy, like anywhere there's a color in the chart, that is where you have a consistent energy theme. Okay. Anywhere that there is white, it means that's where you take in other people's energy. So the other people's energy, that is where we call it conditioning. That is where we take in other people's energy, think it's us, make these beliefs about ourselves, and then create our life based on those beliefs.
Yes, exactly.
So, yes. So
and then you do these personality tests, but because you're so conditioned, whether you say nurtured, because nurtured sounds very positive, but you can be nurtured the wrong way, and not meaning that your parents or your environment on purpose nurtures you wrong. It's just how the society is or how your family is or what traditions or whatever. But and then you answer not wrong, but you don't answer from your core, you answer from your conditioning. And so
yes.
And so I was on your website, and somewhere on your website I read that once you found human design, that your life and your business got easier. So can you maybe say why, so that we can maybe make this bold so that people understand, okay, what does this even help me when I know what I am or in astrology or what I am in human design,
Yeah. So really what it did is in the beginning, it just gave me, I was able to look at the chart and I was able to see, okay, these are where I have consistent energy. This is where I have beliefs about myself. So I was able to release the beliefs that I created. Because I'm like, I have an open G center. I have a lot of identity. I will be shifting. And that's great because I was able to release that. Right. Whereas before in business, I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time. I would get stuck in what I should do, how I should be seen, how I should be heard, taking all the information from society, from other people on telling me how I should put myself out there. Well, human design actually gives you a type. So you have an energy type. There's 5 types. And the different types, what that means is we have a different type of energy that we put out there. So manifesting generators and generator types, we actually have a lot of energy and we love to work, but the way that we connect with how best make decisions that are aligned with our energy is through response, meaning, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to create this next step, but I need to see what is going to show up to me first so I can respond to it rather than initiating it, using all my energy and then doing something that is in alignment with me. So it goes into how we are best suited to put our energy out there so that we aren't burning ourselves out, making ourselves sick, overdoing things or pushing people away.
Yeah.
You know,
and not doing what you should do, or what you think you should do, or what everybody else tells you what you have to do. That's kind of like, so you could let go of some of this conditioning and some of this mental clutter, how we could call it. No, it's like what is not yours, So it's similar for me. It's like when she said that I have so much fire, and I kind of knew I had a lot of fire, but was never allowed to show the fire, and I had to learn to let the fire come out because okay, so then that helped you, because I read that it really kind of all of a sudden your business also started to flow, and I have a lot of people who listen who have businesses, who even have online businesses, and who are struggling. I just got an email last week, and I heard so bad for that person who was struggling and was saying that she's trying everything her coach is saying, and she's still not making progress, or she seems to not make progress. And it might be one of these cases where she's actually not aligned with her energy and with what is right for her. Maybe she has internal resistance to what the coach says because it doesn't feel right, and she thinks she should.
Right. And a lot of the times we do feel like that resistance. I remember before I would feel like I was pushing up against a rock, but I was like, okay, what's off here? Like I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, but it feels like there's a resistance. And you hit it. Like, when we're trying to create a business, we're trying to create a business that feels good to us, that we enjoy, that we're inspired. And if we're not being authentic to who we truly are, then we're not inspired. We're just pushing. We're not really living authentically. So how are we going to draw the people, our clients, to us if we're not being authentic, or if we don't even know we're being authentic?
But I would say now a lot of people really don't know what it means to be authentic because they don't know themselves, because they're so conditioned that they think whatever they're conditioned to is their true selves. But let's take it a step further. So when you then clued off how different you were at the core compared to the conditioning, how did you let go? Like, because I would imagine the outside world maybe gave you some resistance to just letting go the shoulds and go and do it your way. How did you go about that?
Yeah, that was, it can be very difficult to trust, right? Because we've heard all these things from everybody else, and then nothing has really worked. So an example would be, so as a manifesting generator, we're supposed to wait to respond to things in our external world. The reason that is because we are here to create. We're here to create things into the physical form. We have a lot of work and life force. So what that means is we will work forever. When we are inspired, we will not want to stop working because it doesn't feel like work. We love to work. So what happens is if you're no longer inspired by your work and you're forcing it anyway, what that means is you're not living authentic, because as a generator type, we're supposed to be inspired and love our work. If we no longer love our work, we're living out of alignment. So what I did was, okay, I sat back, I waited for things to show up to me to respond to, which was difficult because that's not what I've been taught to do. And then you start questioning, oh my gosh, is this going to really work for me? What if this is just BS? What if no, so then you start thinking, but then as I started diving deeper into my themes in my chart, like where I had connections and everything in my chart, my lessons, all of that, it was like, oh my gosh, this chart just explained my entire life. And I am exactly on the right path. I'm just a little bit off. I was putting myself out there. So because I got that affirmation of you're here to struggle and have many traumas and everything in your life so that you can share with people your experiences to help uplift them, then it was like, okay, I have inadequacy as a huge theme in my life. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, so nothing's wrong with me here. Like this is part of what I was here to learn. I was here to learn about my inadequacy and then step into the wisdom to help people. So it kind of gives you that extra push to be like, no, this is who I am. I know this is who I am. I've always known it, but now I see tangible results and I'm going to trust this. And that's where things start to come to you with ease, because you trust the process.
It's so interesting that you say that, because just last week that the email I sent out was, there is nothing wrong with you, because I was talking on my podcast about how astrology can help us with basically the same thing what we're talking about, but I was just more talking about taking action and really clearing the clutter and creating supportive environments, what I'm talking a lot about. And I said astrology can help you because not everybody is the same. So we can actually see in the astrology chart what would work better for you, or what approach would work better for you. And if you constantly tried and listened to other people and tried their approach and it didn't work, then you may have come to the conclusion there's something wrong with you. Like a lot of people or clients say to me, well, my mother said already I'm an unorganized person. Well, but maybe that's just because you go about it the wrong way. So I love that about insights and about, I don't know, astrology and human design seem to be now that offer us that. Somebody said Enneagrams are the same. I don't know enough about it, but maybe. But it gives you permission to be how you want to be. That's what you said too, because a lot of people wait for permission from other people, and then it doesn't end up good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of, I know I keep going back to it, but like just looking at your chart and noticing where you receive energy from other people, meaning you don't have any consistency there. As soon as you realize that, like the belief, I used to have a belief about myself because I would change. Like I've been a personal trainer, I've been a yoga teacher, I've been this. So, and as I grow and evolve, I change. And I would have people say to me, well, when are you just going to stop and do one thing? Why don't you want to master one thing? Well, as a manifesting generator, I'm actually not made to do one thing. I am made to do numerous things. And as soon as I am not inspired by my work anymore, that is the time to let it go, say thank you, and then move on. So that gave me a huge permission to continue that way. Whereas before I thought something was wrong with me because I was never satisfied, or I couldn't just stay with one thing.
But you may still have the outside world telling you that you should be different. No, it's like that's so funny how society always tries to put us in this specific box that then also changes over time. But at that time, this is the box we all have to fit in now. And no, we don't.
No.
Yeah. So when you're saying, so another thing that you said to me, and I think that I read on your website too, is like that human design helps us to make decisions. And I often say that clutter is unmade decisions, because the reason why you have this stuff laying around everywhere is because you didn't make a decision what to do with it, or to let it go, or to actually create a place for it to be. So when you say human design helps us with making decisions, do you mean that what you were talking about before, that strategy that we know, okay, we have to wait, or is there another little layer or aspect to it?
There's so many layers, but what came up for me when you were saying that, like the 5 types, I just want, so everyone knows here, the generator, manifesting generator, their wait to respond. There's projectors who are waiting to be invited. What that means is they actually have a lot more open areas than manifesting generators and generators. So that means they take in more energy from other people, which tire them out. So they actually need a lot of rest. So it may be that projector, maybe they have lots of clutter because they're exhausted trying to do the work of the generator types, but they're really not here to do that work. They're actually really here to rest more than work. So, I mean, that could be one aspect. It could be a projector type that's just overexhausted, you know, that just needs to rest and doesn't understand why they're not motivated. There's also the manifestor type. So the manifestor is the only one that can really receive a download or receive the inspiration and initiate the process. The manifestor makes up 9% of society. So we as a general in society are taught to be manifestors. To get an idea, go push it, right? But only 9% of society actually has that initiation process. And then there's the reflector, who is all open except for their hanging gates. So that means their centers are all open. So they are like a mirror to their environment. So if they're healthy and happy, that means their environment is happy, right? But if they're not thriving, that means, okay, what's going on in their environment that is they're taking in that's not healthy for them. So as far as decision making, there's so many layers. It could be the type and strategy. Like you could be, if you're a generator type and you're not working enough, you might be depressed because you're not burning your energy. So you might not clear the clutter because you're too tired, even though you're not, because you're not burning enough energy. If you're a projector, you could be overdoing it and be exhausted, don't want to do it. You know, same with the reflector. And a manifestor is like a sprinter. So they're very fast in initiation, but then they need to rest. So if they're not aware that they need to take naps, then they may have clutter kind of stay there because they're exhausted. They don't understand what's going on with them. So that's one layer. But then there are gates in the chart as well. Like the gate 5 is about consistency. So that means you need to have a consistent practice to feel good. So maybe it's a meditation or a way that you clean every day. And then the opposite of that 15 is flow. So some of them, it's not about consistency. When they have consistency, they are like, they get upset. They aren't having fun. They get out of alignment. So it's more in the flow. Oh, I feel like I want to clear the clutter. So it does go into different layers of the chart.
Yeah, it does sound similar to like astrology, because when you say the 4 types, then I to me it's then right away also like with a fire, earth, air, and water. You know, it's kind of like I can hear that out of what you were just talking about. And for example, I have a lot of fire in my chart, and if I don't burn off that fire, that's exactly what happens. I become tired, I become lethargic, and I become, I wouldn't call it depressed, but I'm kind of like down and uninspired and all that. So yeah, so it sounds really interesting. So then when we do know what type we are, is it called type? Yeah. Right. Yep. Type. Then we can make better decisions, because we either know whether we have to be more active or be more waiting, or like you said before, that you have to wait until you get the impulse from the outside and stuff like that. So
yes, especially projectors too, because projectors they're about 20%. And projectors, they definitely can have a lot of energy because they take in the work and life force energy and the amplifies. But if they think that's who they are all the time, they end up burning themselves out. So they can be superhuman, really, a projector can. But if they think that's who they are for up until their 40s, and usually what happens after 40 is they'll burn out because they have just burned themselves out doing. When a projector really, what their gift is really overseeing. They're more like the managerial. They oversee other people's energies. So it's like they see other people's energy more than they see their own. So what happens, because they're taking in other people's energy, they think it's theirs, they burn themselves out and they don't rest enough. So for a projector, all my projector clients, I'm like, you're not receiving an invitation. Are you resting? Are you taking baths? Are you getting out in nature? Are you doing a meditation? That is like a priority. And then if they're rested, they receive invitations. But if they're not rested, they don't. They just like burn at both ends and then getting burned out.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how this is totally helpful. And again, very similar to how I look at astrology, how we can just, when we know a little bit more how we really are and then start working with it, that we are so much more, I can't speak anymore, so much more aligned. Talking about aligned. So when I was on your website, I saw you have a course. It's called Aligned on Purpose. And you say there's something very interesting that I want to, I read it to you. So I don't get it wrong. You say here, the words we use can limit us or can help us create more potential. Learning to use the high vibrational wording in our internal and external dialogue gives us the edge to create more impact. And I was just wondering when I read that, I mean, and I know how powerful words are, but what would be, from your perspective, be high vibrational wording compared to, what did you call the other one? limiting wording.
Yeah. So limiting, and I've found this throughout my entire life too. I used to be very goal oriented, right? So I would be, okay, I'm going to graduate college in 6 years. I went half time. So I was taking one class at a time, raising my kids. And I was like, my focus was just straight and narrow. Right. So it's like, I'm goal oriented. This is what I'm going to create. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to get there. But what was happening is I wasn't looking up. I wasn't looking up to the outside, to the things coming to me. So limiting to me is having a consistent plan in the mind and not opening yourself up to other things that show up for you that you are aware of, that are for you. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
You're not going with the flow because you have almost blinders on. Is that what you mean? So you almost have blinders on, and you may run into the wrong direction for quite a while too, maybe because you're not paying attention to what's going on.
Right. And if you're waiting for things to be invited into or respond to, and you're not opening up, you're staying so focused. Maybe you have 3 or 4 things that came to you. They're like, hey, over here, or it could have changed your entire direction of your life, where there could have been more ease, more happiness, more inspiration, rather than the focus of the 6 years. So by opening up to potential, what that really means is, okay, having a game plan of what you want your life to look like, how you want to create impact, but also let things come to you so that you open up to things that you are unaware of because you're limited in your thoughts.
Okay. So yeah, that I understand that now. And then one more thing. So you were kind enough to make me my chart, and I watched the video, and you talked there about, because I'm a emotional generator, and you talked there about the emotional wave. And I thought that was very interesting with that emotional wave. So I wanted my listener to hear that too, because some people may, even if they're not getting a human design chart, they may still hear something that may be very helpful to them. So can you talk about the emotional wave and how we sometimes have to wait out the emotional wave?
Yeah. So people with an emotional wave. So I mentioned the strategy as far as waiting to respond, waiting for an invitation. The manifestor is waiting for the inspiration and then act. And then the reflector is actually waiting a whole moon cycle because they have to go through the whole moon cycle. But every single type, except for the reflector, can have an emotional wave. So you're an emotional generator. So what that means is you do have an emotional wave that you do fluctuate through. And I'm glad that you brought this up, because so many people that I work with that have emotional waves, when they first come here, they're like, what is wrong with me? Why do I feel so wonderful sometimes and then so down the next, or off? I don't understand the emotional ride that I'm on. How can I get so I don't have it.
Mhm.
But the truth of the matter is that is who you are. That is something that you need to like embrace. That's something that you can really love, because when you're on that emotional wave, you have those emotional highs where you're like going, going, going. And then you have the time when it's rest. It's not time to go, go, go. But because of society, we're taught to go, go, go all the time. And there's something wrong with us if we don't, right?
Yeah.
So when you have the emotional wave, each wave is different. So I have each person kind of reflect on their wave. What I usually have them do is get like one of those little calendars and every morning write down how they're feeling. So whether it be energized, happy, inspired, and then every night also write down a word that they're feeling. And I have them do this for like 1 or 2 months, because then what happens is you can start to see, oh, you know what? I notice every Thursday, I do not want to be around people. So really what that means is do not make any big decisions on Thursdays. Don't do it. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy and fulfilled, right? And then another way for decision making for the emotional wave is like each individual connects with what their wave feels like. And then let's say a big opportunity comes your way, either work, travel, moving, and it's a yes. And then you're like, oh my gosh, that's exciting. I would love to do that. So sleep on it, right? And then the next day, how does it feel? If it's a yes, okay. And then do one more day at least, sleep on it. And then let's say that third day, it's kind of like, I guess it could be good. So what that means is if you choose to say yes, you're going to experience it in that way. You're going to love it sometimes. Sometimes you're going to be like, nah, it's okay. So if you're really wanting sustainability energetically, if you really want to feel good about yourself and your decisions and know that you know how to make decisions for yourself, then you have that yes, 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 all the way through. And then your life will be great. You won't be going in the emotional wave. So it's really tuning in to your emotional wave first. And then if you don't have the time to wait it out, just know, okay, you know what? I didn't have the time. Sometimes I may not enjoy this, but I'm not going to get down on myself because I didn't have the time to make my decision based throughout my wave.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was really interesting because I come from a different angle that I look at that, and I never clued off that this was part of human design. So I look at the biorhythm. Have you heard of that? So like we have the body, the emotional, the intellectual, and I think the energetic and the spiritual or whatever. And I have an app, and actually sometimes when I'm so off, when I feel like I'm so off, I look at that app and sure enough, I may be crossing the line and that's why I'm off, or when you have sometimes days where you feel you could rip out trees and other days you feel like, oh my God, I can't even lift my coffee cup kind of thing, And so I was very surprised when I heard that. And I always feel like this is also something for people to hear. And that's why I wanted you to explain it, because we sometimes are conditioned to be like machines, like these, or computers, and just every day from 8 till 5 and no matter how we feel. And we can be off and it can just be all okay. And tomorrow we're okay again, And so this is why I thought it was so interesting that you talked about that in that video about me, because I experienced that. And my solution was that app, which really helps me to see, oh, okay, well, and my teacher, actually, the person who taught me about that, she said before she makes important decisions, or before she's also a speaker, before she goes on stage and speaks, or she accepts an invitation to go on stage and speak, she checks her biorhythm first to make sure she's not in one of these days where she's like blah and she doesn't want to see anybody and doesn't want to talk. So
that's a great tool for people with emotional wave too, to have that and to use that. Yeah. And then the added benefit of, nothing's wrong with you. It's just, that's just your emotion. And you know what, if you have those days where you don't feel like doing anything, if you have the possibility to switch it and not, then don't. And have compassion and love for yourself and really love where you're at in that moment. Exactly.
Yeah, so awesome. So I could talk with you for hours. I knew that already, that this is going to become a very long episode, and I could continue talking with you forever. But let's be mindful of my listeners who may have other things in their life they want to do than listening to human design. Tell us where people can find you. What's the preferred way they should reach out to you if they're interested to learn more?
Yeah, so on my website, which is Miranda-Mitchell.com, you can find me there, and there's actually a place where you can enter in your birth date, birth time, and birthplace, and I'll run your chart for you for free, and then send you the video on your type 2, which I always give an action step for you to kind of like feel into it for you, because it really is an experiment. How does it feel to you? How does it feel in your body? So you can go there, or you can go on social media under Miranda J. Mitchell on Instagram.
Yeah. And you got me that chart, and it was really interesting. Also the video. So thank you very much for that. Do you have any last words or any wisdom you want to still share with us, or anything that I didn't ask you that you wished now after we talked that I asked you?
No, I always truly believe that like whatever's supposed to show up will show up in that right time. So I would just say if there's anything that kind of piqued your interest, it doesn't hurt to check into what the chart looks like, because sometimes even by looking at the chart subconsciously, you start to connect with it more. So if you feel like there's something there, then reach out and get a chart.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time and sharing this exciting information with us. You know me, I'm completely excited and I need to learn always. So it's so amazing to talk with you about human design. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.